Welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you are here. I am joined by Inquisitor Matastic. That's way too many T's, dude.
There are never enough T's. Never.
There's too many. We gotta throw them off the ship into the harbor. But unfortunately, Inquisitor Sage was not able to come because he's a European cuck. I'm just saying. I don't know why he wasn't able to come, but he was not able to make it. So, rip.
He has not received his daily European online credits yet.
Well, I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the Communist Party taking over Europe, but that's a different story. That and the Fascist Party, they're kind of joining forces this time. So, you're not allowed to do things anymore, apparently. Or he's got family or some nonsense like that.
Family, how dare him?
I know, right? So irresponsible and so, disrespectful to those of us who need him to be on a show. Anyway, we have a couple options of choice of things. Well, not options, a couple stories. But before we get into them, because I need to do this more often, this is kind of the first time I get to do this because, I'm cool like that. I wanted to cover some of the things that is what I would call a reverse sponsorship, where I am not getting paid, but I want to support. So I'll support. What the frick? Why not? So here we go. For those of you who are not familiar, Meta PCs is a PC company that makes some pretty snazzy looking PCs. They're veteran owned and they are gamer friendly. They are people who support places like Nerdrotic, Friday Night Tights, Geeks and Gamers, that kind of a thing. Like, they're not pro censorship. They're pretty chill about this kind of stuff. So check them out. You can use code Geeks and Gamers, or not Geeks and Gamers, code 199 to get like a percentage off your thing, whatever. It helps Geeks and Gamers out, or you can do Nerdrotic's codes if you ever find those on his channel or whatever the case might be. But they have a ton of different types of PCs and stuff that you can get. You can check them out. They got some moderately affordable stuff, all the way up to some ungodly expensive stuff, depending on how detailed you want it, whether it be customized or otherwise. So check out Meta PCs, use code 199 to get something off of your thing. Again, I am not sponsored by them. They do not sponsor me. I make $0, but just check them out. Another one that I have been also wanting to, that I forgot the name of last time, is DEG Mods. So if you're looking for a modding website that's not going to censor you like Nexus Mods is, you can check out DEG Mods. I'm not going to scroll through their stuff because mods tend to have the not safe for work or not safe for YouTube kind of stuff on them. But you can see a couple of the options as they spin by. They're pretty nifty in terms of fixing what you might consider to be errors in games, also adding new content, removing censorship, all that kind of fun jazz. So thanks to DEG Mods for existing as an alternative. I am not supported by them at all. They have their own shtick, but you can go support them and, add your own mods or whatever it is you would like to do. And another would be this one. It is Ayaka Mods. I can't scroll because they have some not safe for YouTube and not safe for work stuff. But if you like modding and you want to do something like DEG, or in this case, Ayaka Mods, it's perfect for you because that gives you more options in what mods are available to you as you wish. So check out Ayaka Mods and DEG Mods. And see if they have something you're looking for that you can support without having to worry about censorship, because both of them are heavy anti-censorship and trying to derail or dethrone Nexus Mods and the censoriousness behavior that is happening over there. And I like mods, but I don't like Nexus Mods. So this is two good alternatives, so check them out and support them however you'd like. So, as for that, we'll move on to the following. This is a image that I want to go over with you, good sir, as one of the news things. So, Switch 2 is being shipped out, but they have some issues because there's a day one patch that you need to have to even utilize the Switch 2. So even if you bought and received a Switch 2 and even have some games for it, you're not even allowed to play it until June 5th.
My birthday, by the way.
Happy birthday.
Okay,
So it's funny, and as said here, you can't use a machine you bought with your money until the people who literally sold it let you. That's actually dystopian. And I would be more inclined to agree than disagree.
I agree and disagree at the same time.
I mean, if somebody doesn't want you to use your product that you're getting because it has to be on the release or whatever, then you should be getting upset with the people who are giving them out before they're supposed to.
Here's my take, okay? I am upset with the practice from an ethical point of view. I'm not upset with it from a legal point of view because you have the right to purchase the product or not. For those who don't know, I run Linux on my home systems. I have some Windows PCs, but they're Windows 10. And if and when Microsoft ever says they're going to lock out Windows 10, I will switch those over to Linux, the extra PCs. Because no one can lock me out of Linux. I control myself.
Except Linux.
Well, and my little brother, who apparently doesn't know how to spell my password, I told him on the phone.
That's
anyway,
impressive.
Whole separate issue.
But yeah, I would say if you don't want people to use your stuff that you're selling them until the day of, then you need to talk to whoever you're supplying your product to and say this cannot go, or we're going to fine you. And then, like, because you can have packages like through USPS, UPS, FedEx, DHL, whoever. You can have them set. This does not go out until this particular day. It has to be delivered this particular day, and that's the day that they'll do it. The same thing for Best Buy, for Target, Walmart, GameStop, local game shops. Like, if somebody's getting something early and they're not supposed to, you can find the people who are doing that and say, like, you're not allowed to do this. Like, you're hurting our business because for whatever X, Y, or Z reasons. But if somebody buys a product from you, having this patch meant you were presuming they were going to be able to do this.
I think in ethical sense, you are in agreement, okay, that this is a appreciated practice. I think in a legal sense, we're going to be disagreeing because I have no problem with a private company doing their private product. Okay,
but it's not their private product anymore.
It is their private product.
They sold it.
No. They sold the physical device.
Yes.
But the operating system is not sold to you. It's licensed to you.
Well, I purchased a device that will fully operate as it was intended to do so.
So install Linux on it.
You license the OS in the sense that you don't own the proprietary IP of that license. You cannot go and distribute it or copy it or whatever the case may be. Sure. But if the device comes with something on it, like for example,
well, okay, so the legal is structured.
My Switch OLED, I own everything on this. They have the software side saved to their computers. I'm not copying that. However, what's on this? They can't come to my house and take it off. So if I take this off the internet, it's mine. Suck my dick.
Again, not disagreeing with that.
So
I'm telling you, with the modern operating systems for the past 2 or 3 years, okay, Windows, whatever they're putting out on that device there, which is not a Linux variant, or they couldn't do this. That they're saying that they're not selling you the operating system anymore; they're leasing it to you, and because of that legal structure, they're allowed to do stuff like this. So long as,
which I don't agree with either. So the legal system needs to change that as well.
So long as, I'm talking to legalism here. So long as they do not block you from installing your own operating system on it,
they would brick your thing for that. They've already said that.
Well, no, they'll brick it if you ever let it connect to their services. In other words,
no. Linux, if they see, because they can monitor what you're doing on the Switch. If they don't like what you're doing, because they said if you try to mod it and putting another operating system on it is modding it.
No. If you do that and let it connect to their services, okay. But if I just put Mac OS on it and never use their services again, It's just a personal computer.
Actually, that's kind of interesting because if they brick your machine, can you just turn it into a Steam Deck?
Well, no, like they're not allowed to brick like your personal stuff. Like like for
Well,
example,
they brick your ability to connect to the service.
I'll
You
give you
can't
an
play
yeah,
Nintendo anymore.
correct. That's correct.
And if
That's
they
what I'm
do
saying.
that, then the Switch is useless. So in that point, can I
Well,
turn that into a
I
Steam
don't.
OS?
I would agree. Yes, you probably could if this if um.
I mean, who'd be afraid of it anymore? Be like, oh, what are you gonna do? Brick my
In
thing? Because
fact,
I can.
let me check something while we're doing it. This is live IT work, guys. Live IT work. Okay.
Live free IT
Steam
advice. This is
OS
not legal. This is
for
not legal advice
Switch
or
2.
medical advice.
Steam OS on the Switch 2. Reddit.
Is it already started? Reddit? I'm sure somebody out there's crazy enough to do that, but
So here's the deal. They have not currently with the current device. With the current Steam OS, you can't just install it. They physically Nintendo actively makes it more difficult to what's called jailbreak the device. But if you could get past that, like for example, if you just open up and pull out their SSD and put a uh, uh, something with Linux on in that, um, so it boots. Like I said, eventually they'll figure out how to put it on there, and you'll be able to turn it into a Steam device.
I get like they don't want people to jailbreak it. Sure, I get that, but at the same time, like it's not theirs anymore. Like it is, but it isn't. Like the software is, but the hardware was not theirs as soon as they sold it to you. Like if you sell me a horse and buggy,
Yeah, no, no,
you have
like,
zero
like I
rights to
said,
that horse and buggy anymore. But
like I
somehow
said,
when you do this kind of stuff, it somehow has rights to it, and that's the legal issue. Is that
what it
the
has
legal
rights
issue
to.
roots off the whole private property thing, and we are
But
supposed to
see,
be
it's
big on
not
it.
okay. But do they have to allow? Okay, so let's say they did what you said, but then said, okay, um, if you don't participate in some sort of whether it's payment or uh, allowing, if they say, okay, you want the device to be totally private, that's fine. You're not allowed to access the network for any reason. What if they did that?
Their network.
Well, that's where you get their network.
I mean, they would lose out on people buying digital
No,
games
no,
and
no.
stuff.
You're avoiding the question. You're talking to legalism.
I'm saying that if somebody produces a product and sells said product, they can either lease or sell that product. They cannot sell that product and then lease something on it.
Well, no, they're selling you the physical device, but leasing you the software.
The software is on the device.
But it doesn't have to be.
The connectivity to online capabilities is one thing. The capability to play a physical digital copy, like, I don't know, these, is not an option. That needs to come stock with it, because what you're buying is the ability to play a cartridge game. If you cannot play said cartridge game at any time,
You're not just buying that though.
but you are.
That's part of what you're buying.
If you buy a tablet, the tablet is expected to operate as the tablet is expected to be sold. Like how they say, we're marketing this to function so you can read books on
Well,
it, to watch
for
shows
example,
on it, whatever the case might be.
what do you do with your old cell phones?
I think I just keep them in a box somewhere.
Well, I use them as cameras and stuff. So
Well, my old ones are like flip phones, so I don't do that. But
so
yeah.
by the like for well here I have a Galaxy S20 whatever, and my
Fancy.
Galaxy the one from 4 or 5 years ago, it's a high cable camera, right? But once they take it off the Verizon network, what happens is it gets sort of half bricked. All the Verizon functionality ceases, right? But because it's running a version of Linux,
It's called bloatware.
well, no, like a network act, like updates to the operating system. There's a lot of Verizon stuff, right?
Yeah, but you should be able to do that through Wi-Fi, internet.
No, but there's a direct access to Verizon network services. That all stops.
Well, yeah, but I don't buy locked phones. I only buy unlocked phones, so I don't have that problem.
You know, again, the point is, I still use my old phones for cameras in some cases. So there's a way to I can either install Linux on them, which I did in one case, or I can hack around because I know how to do it, and install a third-party app that lets it function as an IP device. So the phone has tablet functionality basically, right? Now, what Nintendo has done with the Brick Two, as
The
uh,
break.
yeah, is
That's what they should have
they've
named
gone
Nintendo Switch 2. Instead of Nintendo Switch 2, it's the Nintendo Brick.
they've gone in and made it much more difficult to use the hardware without using their Nintendo services. Okay, now part of what you pay for is the ability to plug those cartridges in, but part of what you pay for and part of the deal is you have network authentication, viral, blah blah blah. They claim it's a service. To me, it's just them exerting third party control over your brick. Um,
So if
and
again, a pre-made software on a pre-made console should not have that problem. If you
but they're
want
not
to, if you
selling
want
you
to
that.
extend that's literally what the Switch is. So if you want to extend that to like being able to play online with multiple people or play online just against anybody otherwise or to download games or anything, then sure, I understand that. But if it's somebody like I have this software, the same as if you were to just go buy a just random third-party tablet that's not worth like really anything, everything on it and the base ground level whatever it is, it's there. So for example, if I get a PS5, which I do have a
But
PS5,
okay,
and
if
I
you
and
would
I
go,
never connected to the internet, it comes with software.
if
I can do
you were
whatever
to
I
go,
want to it, and that's
if
all
you
good and dandy. But if I
go
connect it
to,
to their services, that's a different thing. But their services are not required for it to operate itself with discs.
I guarantee you, if you were to go to the EULA, the full EULA for the Brick Two, not the Brick One, if you were to go to the full EULA, what they're saying is the primary service offered is our network services and blah blah blah. Oh, and by the way, we throw in the ability to put the games on cartridges. So they structured their legal agreement in a way that
It's
it's optional.
dishonest, disingenuous, and unethical, in my
Yes.
opinion. But yeah,
So I agree with you. It's unethical for sure. And the proper response should be
which
to go
is a
get state.
blight on the Japanese culture. I might want to add.
But it's Japan. I mean, they're a blight on. I mean, the only thing Japan gets
Japan
right
is a
is
pretty great culture. It's just when they do this kind of crap,
no, they're not. Japan's a horrible culture.
what are you talking about?
The only thing Japan gets right is the woke stuff. Japan has one of the highest suicide rates on the planet. They have one of the worst prison systems on the planet. They have
I
they
mean,
have
prison systems are supposed to be
the,
terrible
the
by any
Japanese
means.
birth rate means the Japanese people are going to be extinct in about 40 years. Uh,
I'm not saying what you're saying is incorrect. That's not the culture. That's societal type stuff. Culture is in terms of like how they behave amongst each other is very polite
horribly,
and no,
horribly.
they deal with each other extremely politely.
No, the politeness hides the horror.
I mean, you could say that right now. We're hiding our internment camps in our gas chambers.
We don't have any internment camps or gas chambers.
What are you talking about? It's everybody knows it. That's what they talk about us all the time. Haven't you been keeping up?
That all being said,
We also have a
Japan,
really high suicide rate.
nothing like Japan's.
Well,
Anyway,
yeah, Japan has a higher percentage because they have a smaller population.
yeah, we're talking about a really fracked up country producing this device, and to me, the alternative is get the Steam OS, play games on Steam OS, and or what is Sony's
You mean the
variation?
Steam Deck? You mean?
The Steam Deck, yeah.
Yeah, you said Steam OS, and I was like, that's what's on the
Yeah.
Steam Deck. But
Well, what is or put Steam
uh,
OS when they eventually get it working? Put Steam OS on the brick. You know.
that's my thought. Is if I buy something and they brick it, I'm just gonna be like, well, frick, I might as well turn it into another Steam Deck. And all that does is boost Steam in every way possible because Steam's more pro-consumer than Nintendo is by
Well, yeah, but
far.
Steam is from the U.S. and under the U.S.'s culture.
Well,
Japan is from
there's a Nintendo US crap. There's Sony US crap. There's Xbox. Xbox
well.
is technically
I don't know if
American,
you ever noticed this, but Nintendo U.S. and Nintendo Japan are at war with each other.
and they should be because US is stupid.
No, the U.S. is the good part because the U.S. opposes doing things like this. These things come
Well,
down from
I'll put it this way: the US side of Nintendo is good in that it opposes the bad practices from Japan, but it's bad because it's
but it's not
also
just
pro
Japan.
censorship.
It's Southeast Asia. It's the same thing happening with Apple, which is even though it's owned by the U.S., it's dominated by Southeast Asian culture, where basically they're installing lockout in the hardware. So if you don't run Apple OS on them now, the devices just don't work. You know.
If you buy an Apple, you deserve that because Apple's trash.
Well, the hardware for Apples are pretty high end. I'm not gonna
Unless you
no.
get a used battery.
You know. Well, no, the actual physical hardware and devices is high end computing stuff. Okay, the but there's a lot of that Southeast Asian authoritarian culture that is that leads into their corporation. So, in any case, I think we're in agreement. The practice is ethically you
It's
know,
pretty bad,
yeah.
but it is what it is. Next topic. Good old Reddit. So I don't. You probably haven't heard of this because I think it just happened today. So Halo, the Reddit page for Halo is banning users for saying Happy Men's Awareness Month because it's Pride Month and people are saying Happy Men's Awareness Month.
Well,
And
this is Reddit, though. I mean,
I am aware. I am aware. But I'm saying they're not saying anti-pride stuff. They're saying pro men's awareness.
again, were
And
you
that's
part of the
bad.
whole White Cloaks Exodus stuff of Reddit? Were you there for that?
I didn't join that by any means.
Well,
I
you
joined
okay?
I joined
So
after they already moved to Discord.
okay, so for those who don't know, the origin of the White Cloaks as a group,
Was on Reddit.
there used to be there are many. Reddit has many different like subtopics, all about the same thing, right? And
Yeah.
one of the Wheel of Time subreddits was White Cloaks, okay? And when Wheel of Crime, the TV show, came out, uh, there was a whole like 99% of the Wheel of Crime subreddits were all like, "Oh, this is the greatest thing in the universe," blah blah blah, and those in White Cloaks were like, "What the fuck did we just watch?"
Everybody was
You know?
simping except the White
Yeah.
Cloaks.
So this is my origin story for YouTube, by the way. Well, I had been I had made a channel on Bearable 33 about 2 years before. I was thinking about starting to just post some opinion stuff, nothing big. And I watched Wheel of Crime, and I was like, "Am I the only person who thinks this is horrible?" And I'm like, and then I did what Shad said. And I'm going to give it a couple episodes, maybe just start off with a rough pilot. And then
Just
by the
gets
third
worse.
episode, I was like, I can't be the only one. I found Shad, and Shad and I went to the thing. But we can't be the only two. I found Desperu, and then from Desperu, I watched him rip apart the first episode. I'm like, yeah, and then I was just sitting by the TV, and Salty Texas C had a stream on with Jax and Steve Prophet of the Dragon and Man Manetherin, and I happened to log into it, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm not the only one. I'm not alone, you know. And
I'm
I
not
started
alone.
posting some comments, and then I became like the Tolkien expert because of all the knowledge. That's when my encyclopedia of pedantic knowledge became available. You know, they're like, "Oh, check what Matt he knows," blah blah blah. And so Salty and Zax bought this microphone for me, and
Oh, that's nice of them.
well, because I was posting, I said they encouraged me to start posting. I was using my shitty YouTube camera that's 15 years old now. The picture is still good, but the audio quality is, you know. So they
Yeah.
bought the microphone for me, and they encouraged me to form my channel. I've been posting videos ever since. So anyway, back to White Cloaks. So I go to Reddit, and I'm looking for people who to talk about Will of Crime with, thinking I can't be the only one. And I find White Cloaks. I literally joined the White Cloaks subreddit, and I received messages, "You're banned from the following community. You're banned from the following community. You're banned from the following community." Like 15 assault violence and five communities, just for the act of joining White Cloaks, banned me from those other communities.
Yeah, as a blockchain.
Yeah, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And I was talking to Pips to Chad, like, and Pips, I think it was Pips or Steve, who told me, "Oh, we're making a Discord and everything. I just hop over here." And like, so I was part
I
of the White
found
Cloaks.
them after the Reddit stuff went
Yeah,
down.
you joined up after, but I literally was part of the Exodus, and that is the same. Halo. Reddit is full of these. It's left wing. It's not just left wing dominated. It's dominated by anti free speech,
I call it
anti
retard dominated.
full on woke dominated, and the same thing with Halo, right? So Halo, the community now Halo is a subreddit, right? So if Halo is the main Halo subreddit is doing it, fine. That's a private subreddit. If other subreddits start saying, "Well, you're banned from Halo, you're banned from us," talking about Halo again, that's Reddit is what 4chan used to be, full cesspool.
I
You know what 4chan is?
I've heard of it. I'm not particularly familiar with it.
So the cesspools of the internet used to be 4chan and YouTube comments, and YouTube comments got cleaned up a lot when they started forcing people to moderate their own comments. 4chan, the dark, disgusting cesspool split off and became, I think, 8chan or something like that, where they have no filter. And so 4chan kind of cleaned itself up a bit. But and now Reddit has reemerged as the true dark anal underpit of the internet.
Sounds about right. But speaking of Wheel of Time, we've got Sir Brandon Sanderson himself on this. Let me know if you can't hear this.
I really do like the whole team working on Wheel of Time. One of my big fights with the showrunner has been, he's like, well, this is how we do it in television. I'm like, but this is how we do it in long form storytelling. What you're making should be more like the long form storytelling rather than the episodic television that is his background. That's what he knows how to make. I want them to write an entire season, workshop, get those scripts good, and then film that. And I don't see that happening a ton. I see them sitting down and coming up with a concept for the season, sending someone else to start writing, you to start writing, yours gets done. You tell them, we need you to finish your scenes that are taking place in the same place as this one because we got to have our film date next month. So they go film those 3 scenes written by 3 different people. The scripts are never done by the time they start filming. And that really bothers me because I can see it in their storytelling.
And, where are they now?
Another letter from Mistresses Almira.
Just act like nothing ever happened?
No explanation?
So he is himself, Brandon Sanderson, is on the left, right? And he is trying to, since he's focused on criticizing the writing process, which does suck. Leave aside the woke stuff, the writing process itself. Like, there could be 0 woke in Wheel of Crime and it would still suck. But the writing,
I don't have any problems with Sanderson. I have 0.
I don't have a problem with him personally, because he has not gone out of the way to offend me as a leftist. You know what I mean?
I don't even care that he's a leftist.
Well, because he hasn't gone out of his way to offend me as one. That's why I don't care about him. So he is going out of his way to very carefully target.
I wouldn't say he's a leftist as much as a liberal.
That's the same thing.
No, they have different connotations. Liberal just means you have a certain type of worldview. Leftist usually implies extremist.
I will try to avoid the political.
I'm not going to the political aspect. I'm just saying he has more liberal tendencies in terms, not classically liberal, but like more just liberal views on things.
If you subdivide
whatever
the liberals and the left among all their groups, like liberal, progressive, communist, socialist, whatever, you would be correct in your use of the term. Okay,
I'm saying he's not as bad as it makes it sound when you say he's a leftist.
He is in that broad general group of people, not the subgroups. He's on the left, and he follows political stuff. Anyway, he is going out of his way with. Remember, we did the review of when they reviewed episode 8 of the 2nd season or whatever.
Yeah.
He is going out of his way to criticize and slam as much as he could with the writing to, I think, avoid one of 2 things. Okay, either the cognitive dissonance of him realizing how the woke has destroyed this, or he thinks the woke sucks now and knows if he says it, he'll get pushed out of his group. So,
I think there's a more realistic one, which is he was hoping to get his books picked up as a TV series by Amazon. And if he talks bad about Amazon's product, it's probably going to look bad for him as he tries to get his product.
I disagree. I think he saw what they did to Wheel of Crime and Rings of Crime and wanted nothing to do with it.
According to Shad, in his conversations with Sanderson thought what they did was horrible. But I personally do believe that he kept quiet, and I'm pretty confident that it's because he wants his books to get an adaptation, but he wants full control of them, and he wants there to be a fantasy series that could do really, really well, where the Wheel of Time flopped because the Wheel of Time didn't follow.
Well, that's it. Yeah. So I think he was horrified what Amazon did to those 2 shows.
Yeah.
I think the whole reason for that mega.
I don't think it's inherently because they went woke. I think he saw it and said, that's just bad writing. It's bad in general. And I don't want them to do that to my stuff. But if I say anything openly about this, which he might have an NDA or something where he's not allowed to do that, I don't know. But if he tries to pull that nonsense with that, they're not going to like it. They're going to complain to Amazon about this guy. And then his chances of having Amazon adapt his work becomes
that's why I said it the way I said. I was definitely he's criticizing the writing part of it. And I think, again, one of 2 reasons on the woke part. Either he has come to hate the woke stuff because a lot of people.
I doubt it.
No, I think so because a lot of now this is what we'd have to say. He's a liberal, not a leftist type of thing. The hard left that's controlling them have been pushing more and more people out of their group because they don't agree. Like J.K. Rowling, who is a very left-leaning person, except on 2 or 3 issues of trans exclusionary radical feminist.
I don't think he's against like lesbian, gay relationships or trans characters or anything like that. I think he's so against the bad writing that the bad writing is just because they're doing the bad writing because they go for the gay, trans, lesbian stuff. That's I think where he's he's against. No.
I think he was fine initially with him with some of the character changes they made.
No, he wasn't. There's official documentation of him saying like I told them don't do this and they just ignored me.
But not about the gay stuff, about other stuff.
But like just stuff in the story in general. He's like, this will hurt the character development, blah, 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 blah.
No. Yeah, but we're talking about the woke stuff. So
yeah, he also said he kind of just backed off and just separated himself from them entirely because they didn't.
Because he saw, I think, that...
No, they just refused to listen to him. He's just like, what am I going to do? I mean, there's no point in me giving them advice if they're just going to ignore it all the time. And that's what they did. They always ignored him. They did the same thing with, what's his face from Tolkien? Tom Shippey. Yeah, they did the same thing with Tom Shippey, and then they looked for every possible reason they could possibly get to get rid of him because all they wanted is his name attached to Rings of Power. Like, oh, Tom Shippey's working on this. This is going to be great, and that's what we wanted. Because if they had listened to Tom Shippey, like that was a requirement, was to listen to Tom Shippey, we would have gotten much better stuff. But they wanted him gone. They just wanted to use his name. The same thing is that they were in talks of bringing in Peter Jackson to do like an episode or two or something. But he's just like, show me the scripts. But they never did show him the scripts. And he's like, they just left me hanging. And it's like, yeah, because they want your name attached to it. They don't want you to do it. And they did the same thing with Tom Shippey. They got rid of him as soon as they possibly could. They ignored Peter Jackson.
They canceled him because he was saying this is not going to be compliant with Tolkien's work. You know?
Well, whatever they canceled him for, the reason they used was him talking to like a German podcast or something about stuff. And they said, oh, he broke NDA. Whoop, yeet him. And all that stupid stuff. But the point being, I think a lot of it's just people were like, this is bad. And you're ignoring me, so why would I freaking stick around and, give you more of my time? Is more or less the purpose. But last topic that I have, Nexus mods being Nexus mods. I literally could just run with that. Bans Expedition 33 mod for letting you replace characters with 2B, etc. The double standard is real. And... so, apparently, it replaced the female characters with non-nude 2B, Kane, and a bodysuit. And male is canonically 16, but it replaced her entire body and face and everything. So, it basically removed her character and put another character in place. And then just kept the voice. That's all it did. So, you basically could just have 3 forms of 2B, which, who doesn't want that? I mean, look at it. like...
well,
don't look too closely, Matt.
This is a product, again, similar to the Switch, the Brick 2.
The Brick 2.
We're
gonna have to canonize that, the Brick 2.
Well, once I come up with something, I will almost always use it. The same way I called it Rings of Crime for quite a while before, so I'm calling it Rings of Crime and Wheel of Crime because they were true crimes against the writers. I'll call them that forever. Those 2 TV shows. Yeah. This is the same deal with the Brick 2.
That's not what I wanted. I forgot.
That's not what we needed to see, but what we wanted to see for sure.
It's not the hero we need; it's the hero we wanted.
Yeah. So
I was trying to check.
To keep it simple, right?
Because I thought somebody posted. Well, they have this one here, which is Stellar Blade, Nexus mods, Ayaka mods, Freedom Uncensored, and Nexus mods blocking modders. Ayaka mods is the way to go, modders.
So they go to Ayaka mods and get your mods in. That's a simple.
Yeah. And then this stupid nonsense. Male is 16. This is stupid because the entire point of the mod is to change the character. It's a different character. 2B is not 16. So if you have a 2B model that's bigger, like an adult, then it's not the same thing as a freaking 16-year-old. So it's just, I hate this argumentation because it's poor argumentation. Because while the character, like if you were to do it to the character that's 16, and the model was still the 16-year-old, I could fully understand that. But that's not what they're doing. They're replacing this character. They're saying, yeet this character and put this character in the position that character was, and then use all the dialogue for this character, and boom, you have 2B.
Or you just mentally decide the character is 19 and you're fine.
Well, I mean, and there's that too, but there are some things that are a little bit more questionable. I'm not going to get into that. But this is the reason I want to promote DEG mods and Ayaka mods, is because they'll cover this stuff and they'll be like, we'll offer the alternative. If there's something you're not finding on Nexus mods that you normally would find on Nexus mods, DEG mods and Ayaka mods are typically where you would go. And then there's the guys who are like making the mods, like the modders themselves, and sometimes they're just like, I'm just going to remove the mod. And I think that's what was going on with this one originally, is that they were going to just remove it from Nexus mods and then not fight it. But they ended up getting talked to by DEG and Ayaka, who are both like, hey, we'll host it, and then you can get the uncensored version on Ayaka mods. I think it's also available on DEG mods, but I don't know. I haven't modded anything in a long time, so I've been out of the game because I don't. They always mod for things that I don't have. I don't have Expedition 33, so I don't know. But yeah, ultimately speaking, I want to support the uncensored mods versus the censored mods on Nexus mods, because I grew up loving Nexus mods because that's where I got my Skyrim stuff.
Okay. Here's my question: can you mod the game yourself?
What game?
So Nexus Mods is a modding program.
It's where you update your, or you can post your mods. It's a mod hosting site.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. So how does the mod from Nexus whatever get into your game?
They have a Nexus mod manager or the Vortex manager.
Are there other ways besides that Nexus mod manager to get the mod into your game?
Yes. But you can't access the mod on their website.
No. That's. I just want to clarify this. When some sort of like the game company is saying only Nexus mod manager will be allowed to use our software. Or whatever.
No. So basically, what happens is that they'll have categories for games, like whether it be Oblivion, Skyrim, Morrowind, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, yada yada, whatever. They have a whole bunch of games, so it's not like limited. But the most common ones are like Skyrim and Fallout New Vegas and stuff like that. But basically, people will say, I made this cool mod, and then they want to post it. So they post it. And then Nexus mods will allow
I know how it works because I use Curse for my World of Warcraft stuff. So I know how it works.
Okay. So I'm trying to figure out why you're asking the question. Sorry.
No, I wanted to make sure that the company itself wasn't saying only Nexus mods could be used for our program.
No.
So as long as
I don't think there is a single company that does that. Even with the creative the creation mod thingy that Bethesda put on their stuff, they still don't prevent you from using other mods outside of it. That's just ones that are built into the game that you have access to that are easier to mod in.
Okay.
So yeah.
So that was one question I had.
But yeah, those are all of the topics I had to talk about. So I mean, we're only 7,000 years into this, so it's not that bad. But actually, it's probably the shortest one we've had in a while. But yeah, I guess aside from that, if you guys want to check out my Tuesday night streams, 9 p.m. Central is when I try to do it. The only reason I would not be able to do that is if I had work coming up the next day or something. But yeah, I've been playing a bunch of games. I finished Fable 1 and Fable 2. Right now, nowhere near finishing that one yet, but we're taking over the economy through glitches. It's actually kind of funny. Buying up all the property in Bowerstone and the surrounding areas. Anywhere we've gone so far that we can buy places, we're buying them. So if you want to come watch me be a little strange as usual, and come hang out in the chat and everything, we've got a couple requests. You can also join the Questioners Discord if you would like to make game recommendations of things you'd like to see. I got everything basically from Game Boy games all the way up to modern stuff that I'm trying to play with, if I can get my hands on it, and some stuff that I will play with the community if enough people get into it. And a couple of the people that show up for the streams, I've already gamed things like War Thunder with them, and plans on doing things like Battle from Middle Earth 1 through 2.5. So who knows? Maybe we'll get something fun to do there. Also, I created a meme channel thing for the Questioners, and I've been posting a ton of memes there. So if you want like memes, check that out. Maybe you'll post your own memes, and everybody can have a good day. So that's that for that in promotion. But if you like, comment, subscribe, all that fun jazz. I appreciate it. I appreciate you and your support, even if you don't do anything beyond just lurk in the chat. I'd love to chat and hang out with you, so if you want to come chat and hang out, that's great. But leave comments. Engagement is the biggest thing you can help right now. Like likes or dislikes doesn't even really matter. It's just the pure raw engagement. So whatever you like or dislike, feel free to dish them out. I'm totally okay with that. But Matt, what you got coming up?
So every week, Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, me, Joker Voice, Ego Eye, and Left Eye Ego, and Brad from Florida, Duke Devil 55, whatever he is. We get together on Wednesday nights overbooked to talk the world of professional wrestling. We're talking about Money in the Bank, which is coming this weekend, a big event. On Thursdays, I'm on Rome of the Empire's channel, where we either review a movie or a TV show or talk about top topics. This week, which is 3 days ago, so it'll be when he posts this, it'll be 3 days ago this happened. Okay, we're reviewing a really cool sci-fi action movie called Spectral. It came out about 8-9 years ago now. Was supposed to be in the theaters, but something happened. It was a combination production between a European company and an American company, and the American company, they were making it to be released in the theaters, so that it's theater level production quality. But the American company backed out, so Netflix jumped in. It became one of the early made for Netflix movies, and is very, very good. I'm not going to say it's the greatest science fiction film of all time by any means, but it's a fun action sci-fi film that takes the notion of ghosts, I guess, in an interesting direction. And I will say, spoilery, the reveal of what was happening, especially in the modern context of the things we're hearing about being done in the world of science, is nightmare fuel.
Well, I guess you better add it to the server then.
Bro, it's on Netflix, so if you want to watch it, go ahead and watch it.
I was going to say I haven't looked for it, but it sounds familiar. Like I heard something about it, but
you probably heard of it, but I didn't have access to it, or like, it's a big film, whatever.
I don't have Netflix. I have never had Netflix that I know of.
So you probably heard about it, but never went looking for it. But it was surprisingly good. Again, I'm not going to say it's the greatest science fiction film of all time. Okay, you might be able to watch it once and enjoy it with some popcorn.
Most movies I watch once, and even like certain ones like the John Wick movies I'll buy, but I don't like watch them on repeat or anything. The only thing I ever watch on repeat is Lord of the Rings Extended Edition. So like,
well, the point I'm getting is you'll probably, as long as you don't go looking for a deep thought film, you'll enjoy it that first time. Get some popcorn, get some hot dogs.
Usually, if it's prior to the age of modernity that we have now, I usually can just enjoy it for what it is.
It's not a kids movie. There's no sex or whatever in it, but there's a lot of violence. Okay,
I like violence. Violence is good.
Well, I mean, to me, it's a family film, but
I grew up on Gears of War, dude. Violence is my jam.
Yeah. Well,
kids on people in half, blowing them into meat chunks.
It could theoretically be a family film. I don't know what level of violence you expose your children to in films. That's all.
I mean, my oldest is 4, so I'm not going to be like.
I was watching World War II films and Vietnam films when I was 3, so those are family films.
There's also this thing called parenting standards, and I guess your parents didn't have any.
Well, our whole family grew up with World War II and everything.
Oh, I know, but like I wasn't even allowed to watch freaking like westerns until I was like.
Westerns,
6 or 7.
Although
I was ironically, I was at my parents for I think it was Mother's Day or something, and or not Mother's Day, for what was it? Maybe it was Easter or something. I don't remember. But I was over there and they had some friends over, and I was having a chat with my dad and this other guy that's friends with my dad, and I've known him half my life, and I was like, Dad, you wouldn't let me watch Ed, Edd and Eddie because it was stupid, and it's literally just Three Stooges. You wouldn't let your kids watch Three Stooges? No, I wouldn't let my kids watch Three Stooges. I'm like, you let me watch Westerners where we saw people getting gunned down. Like, yeah, that was okay. I'm like, what do you mean that's okay? A kid being stupid versus getting people down?
I probably knew more about World War II by the time I was 5 years old because of my family than most people learn throughout their grammar, middle, and high school. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that because like I watched Terminator when I was 11 years old, and that gave me nightmares. But I also grew up much more cloistered than most people probably would do with their kids. A lot of people don't have standards for their kids. Like let their kids eat whatever, let their kids do whatever. I'm not particularly about that. I want to make sure my kids stay kids longer.
Yeah. The
But
only things that gave me nightmares from a horror point of view when I was young were like things that if it were real, the world is fucked. Like
well, I mean, my idea of a good horror film is when the good guys do everything that's right and still lose. That's the horror
So-
film. Because most horror films are just literally the good guys do everything wrong all the time until the very last minute, then they do the right thing and then they win. And it's like, no. A good horror film, like to actually like terrify somebody, is literally saying you went down the right way, you ran away when you needed to, you recovered, you got the right weapons, you got everything you needed to stop the threat, and it still didn't work. That's true horror, because you're like, I
So-
did all the right things and I still couldn't win.
So one of my favorite John Carpenter films called John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness, and the premise of this film was spoilers for the 30-year-old film, guys. Spoilers, okay? The premise of this movie was that I'm just going to summarize what actually happened versus reveal it in order, okay? So millions of years before, there was some sort of war between these ancient super aliens, right? And a being was imprisoned. Before he was imprisoned, he liquefied his son and hid him in a containment jar that his enemies couldn't find. Okay, and that jar wound up on the earth. Okay,
The first symbiote.
well, it's a canister the size of a human being. Okay, so millions of years later, someone alien-wise finds it, and about 2,000 years before modern times, this alien comes to Earth, and he was trying to warn people, but he realized because there's a timer on the jar that's slowly ticking down millions of years. So the alien's going to come out, possess someone, and pull his father out from the dark side, where he's been imprisoned. Okay, so this alien basically is Jesus, and the entire secret origin of the Catholic Church is not to start a religion based on peace and understanding, which he did as a side effect to make humans evolve, right? He did do that, but was to hide this jar away, and he gave a book of science and equations that could help humanity deal with it. Okay, and the hope was that they could hide away and keep it long enough so science could advance enough to be able to deal with this jar and keep it like diffuse the mechanism because it's locked from the inside. All right, and so what happens is they run out of time, and the entity starts escaping, possessing people. But heroically at the end, one of the humans sacrifices herself to basically body tackle Satan, which is what's coming out of the jar, into this other dimension before she can free her father. And okay, this anti-God entity, right? So the reason it's scary to me is like we have this faithful Christian and all that, right? But like, what if there really are these?
That sounds like Assassin's Creed level stuff.
Like
The
if
apple.
that, or Spectral had nightmare fuel at the end of it. I won't spoil that one. It's a more recent film. Hopefully, we'll watch it. Like what if what happened in Spectral? Because some motherfucker in real life is trying to do that. What if you want when you watch Spectral, you understand what I'm saying. Uh, you know, stuff like that where we have a world view and we think we know a set of rules and it's positive, but there's really a hidden meaning underneath there that if it's true, we're fucked type of thing.
Yeah, but that's kind of the thing that like what I was saying about horror films, like a true horror film, because I fall asleep on horror films because I don't watch them because they're boring, they're predictable, they're not good quality, and they don't reach any low standard I have. But if you make one like a Dead Space or something, I might consider it. But like if you're making just like cheap high school kids being stupid kind of thing, it's not entertaining because it's like that sounds like every other horror film out there that's been done to death, pun intended. But if you make something where like you have the villain, whoever it is, mass murderer, serial killer, whatever the case might be, they're really sneaky or whatever the case is, and you're always doing the right thing, and you could even be steps ahead of the bad guy, and you could do everything correct, and you still lose. That's terrifying. That's terrifying, huh?
Those are slasher movies.
I mean, they're all the same to me when it comes to.
No, I'm saying that's a subgenre. They're called slasher movies. Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th.
Yeah, but I'm not like. I mean, how do you fight a dream guy? Like, it's.
You can fight him.
How do you fight a dream guy?
With the dream.
with a dream? Am I
All
supposed
the
to tell a
powers-
parent
okay.
it's only a dream? It's only.
I'm spoiling the Nightmare on Elm Street series, guys. I'm spoiling it. Okay, all the powers that Freddy has in the dream, and also the dream has too. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 was called the Dream Warrior because someone told them if you train properly, you can fight him with the dream powers too. And then Nightmare on Elm Street 5, the Dream Master was sort of someone who was fully capable of Freddy who defeated him in the dream.
Yeah, I feel like if my imagination is limited to what Freddy's capable of, I'm gonna probably lose too.
No, that's the issue. You have to be aware you're in the dream to take control of it. That was the training in Dream Warriors and Dream Master. They had to train to be able to have a waking dream, basically.
Yeah, I have a couple ideas for characters I'd like to put into like a graphic novel or maybe do a show kind of thing on, but they're not the typical hero because I dislike the constant concept of a hero that people utilize in like comics. Like, oh, they have to do the right thing and oh, they have to do this. I'm like, no. Anti-heroes are more of heroes than heroes are these days because the anti-heroes will actually do what is right, where the heroes
Well,
will do what gets more people killed every time
it depends
without
on the
fail.
story.
So,
It depends on the story.
well, I know, but on average, like the Punisher going in and ending, a trafficking ring, that those guys would go to prison, get out, and go right back to doing what they're doing. He's just like, I'm just gonna wipe them out, and then basically just instill fear in the entire industry by popping up when they're not expecting him, and then just clearing out a whole bunch of people. That's more effective in stopping the issue than just being like, yeah, these people.
Except they don't write the comic universe that way.
Well, I know, and I understand that, but I'm saying like a character like Spawn, Ghost Rider, that kind of stuff, where they're like, it. I mean, Ghost Rider would be more vengeance type thing, but like showing up and being like, you done did wrong and you done did messed up. I'm gonna make sure you don't do that again ever, and then just.
Well, like I said,
But also, I also lean more towards the non-good appearing type characters, like the more evil looking.
That's probably fine.
Well, it's like Helsing. Helsing, he doesn't look good. He looks very evil.
He's Count Dracula.
He
Spoilers.
yeah.
Spoilers. He's Count Dracula.
But he appears evil. He behaves evil. He delights in violence, but he does what's good because he's bound to do so. But in doing
No. That's a misunderstanding. It's a total misunderstanding. Okay.
the contract he has with
Count
Helsing.
Dracula. Count Dracula did the horrible things he did, not because he was. By modern sense, he is evil. But because he's honor bound.
Self-defense, bro.
He was honor bound to protect his people. That's why the real life Vlad Tepes did what he did. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I wouldn't call that evil.
Alucard chose to serve a strong master. It's a sense of honor that he does what is perceived to be good. But if Sirius
I
orders him
believe
to,
it has something to do with the contract in the Helsing family, if I recall correctly.
if Sirius orders him to do atrocities, he'll do them. He's honor bound to obey. He chooses. He can choose not to. He can choose to be in prison. Okay. So like in episode 3 or manga 3, when he goes, it's when we fights.
They're right there.
Yeah. It's when we fights Tubal Khan whatever. The guy who wears the hat and suit.
That doesn't narrow it down.
Well, they sent Alucard to investigate the Brazilian Nazis, and they're going in the building, and the police surround the building because Tubal Khan wants to cause an international incident between Brazil and Britain. And so he goes to Sirius, not Sirius. He goes to what's her name?
The girl,
Helsing.
police girl, or no, you're talking Helsing.
Helsing, yeah. So they go to her, not Sirius. They go to Master because nothing there is a threat to Alucard. Nothing.
Yeah. Well, nothing in the world's a threat to Alucard.
What do you want me to do? I mean, you have to say what you want me to do. Tell me that you want me to slaughter them. And he does it. He says it and he does it. Because he's saying, if you're going to be my master, right?
Well, I'm saying that he's not the kind of guy who just goes and does evil for the sake of doing evil. Like, he'll do evil if he's commanded to do so. But when he goes in viciously evil-like in appearance.
Well, because he gains power from it.
I know, but I'm saying, like, he'll go in and wipe out a whole swarm of ghouls. He'll kill the fake vampires and do all that kind of stuff. And he'll delight in it. But what he's ultimately doing is he's not killing innocents. And that's the
It is
differentiation.
not his nature to kill innocents. Because he's based on the Count Dracula, who protected innocents by being a noble.
I am aware of this, but that's what I'm saying is that kind of characterization of a not good appearing character,
Yeah.
but doing byproduct wise good things, aka Frank Castle, the Punisher, Spawn, like whatever the case might be. They're like, yeah, they might be protecting somebody or something, but it doesn't mean they don't delight in destroying the evil that they're fighting.
Yeah,
But they
no,
might do
listen,
it. They might do it from the appearance.
I'm
of evil,
I'm not disputing the broad concept of what you're saying. I'm saying
Yeah.
you'll misunderstand Alucard's motivations.
It's been a hot minute since I watched it and read it, so I haven't even watched Ultimate yet because it's expensive.
I mean, he comes.
But
you can watch it on my thing.
I'll have to do that, but
I have,
I have
I have it,
time to do that too. But
I have it in very, very high quality. Like the high. It might be the highest quality rip I've ever done. Of a
90% of your flicks is literally that. It's that one thing. But yeah, like I have character ideas that are just they're kind of morbid and they're kind of like creepy and they're not something people on the street would average be like, yeah, I'd be comfortable with this thing watching my kids. But in all, it would be the safest thing. Like if you had an infant or toddlers or something, they'd be the safest they could possibly literally be by being near this creature that I have in mind. And it's the funniest thing ever because appearance wise, he'd give you nightmares and terrify you to bits, and you'd probably commit suicide from just sheer feeling and emotion going negative. So it's just like, but he's not there to do harm unless it fits within the parameters in which he faces
I'm not
things.
disputing all that.
But I like those kind of characters, like a Spawn, Ghost Rider, Punisher. Those were always my favorite characters in the comics, and I didn't read very many comics, granted, but because I didn't grow up on them. But I like those darker type characters because they did the more full righteous move, as opposed to like, I want a hope-filled Superman. I'm like, well, don't you want a Superman that actually does what he's supposed to do rather than just appearing like he's doing the good thing, but he's not really doing a good thing because he's just not doing something else. Like,
Well, okay.
where's the? And I'm not gonna get into.
Trying not to get deeper into this, but you keep drawing me in.
No. I get it. I'm not here to like debate Superman and whatnot. I don't particularly care about Superman in any shape or form.
It's just a misconception of his powers. Superman is constantly
he holds back,
speeding around the world, arresting like muggers in every country in the
world. Which is what I want to see. But no, we have to fight freaking world-ending events.
Because you can't see him. He's moving too fast.
No. I'm saying I grew up on the old school cartoon where you had to fight the mad scientist with the beam and the mobsters that kidnapped Lois Lane and everything. Like those are the cartoons I loved.
Yes,
and they don't do that in movies anymore. They go. There has to be somebody who's a big bad evil guy. It has to be this world-ending thing. And it's like no. It just has to be him doing heroic things, like stopping a bank from being robbed, preventing hostages from being harmed. He just has to do the normal stuff. That's all you need to do.
Well, that's Superman the movie. It's the greatest superhero film of all time. Superman the movie, of course, has that in it. But
yeah, but I'm saying like that should be consistently. And then like if you do a TV series about it, the end is when you're like you introduce a bad guy somewhere in the season, and then by the end maybe he fights them, or maybe it moves to the next season.
Not disputing the problem. In the comics, just so people know, in the comics, Superman is constantly zooming around the universe, not just the Earth, stopping petty crime, stopping suicide attempts, stopping people from falling off ladders. Like they sometimes they'll show a scene where you just see a breeze and someone's falling off a ladder and they're standing. Someone's dropping hot dogs and the hot dogs back in their bun. Like just all and then you see him saying, Clark saying to Lois, he goes and then talking to Lois, but he's moving so fast that Lois can't detect him flying away and back.
Well, that's the thing is like I the way I see Superman is like he's standing there next to Lois as Clark Kent, and he's got his pen and paper and everything, right? And then all of a sudden he like hears from a ridiculous distance off something that's going on, and then he just disappears. He goes, he turns into Superman. He gets there, he beats everything up, he wins, saves the day, and comes right back. And before like the pen has even like left the paper, like he just zip. Like, so, I mean, that's what I would expect from him, but that's not how they portray him. They portray him as like, I can't leave because people will see me being gone.
This is from the 50s or 60s. Superman's talking as Clark. He's talking to Lois, and they're chatting. In the middle of a word, like let's say the word was house or whatever, right?
Yeah.
In the middle of the word, Superman hears a monster destroying a planet in another galaxy, flies there, defeats it, and comes back so fast no one other than like the gods of the universe perceived him move.
It's like that's what would make sense, but somehow that when they portray
And he
Superman,
was still speed capped because one time Superman decided to see how fast he could actually fly, and he flew so fast all of existence was being destroyed by his speed. God said, Superman, don't ever fly this fast again. Like
well, I
it's a
know he like
Superman-
pulls his punches and stuff, and even the Flash has to pull his punches because they
Yeah.
can literally just destroy
No,
planets
but
from everything.
this is how ridiculously powerful Superman was at one point. He's still up there, but not
Sure, I mean, I get all that, but my thing is how they portray him is not how he's portrayed when he's
Well,
when he was
that's
created,
because,
and
the
it drives
TV
me nuts. They downplay everything. They make all these characters just pathetic, and it just drives me nuts.
well, that's what it is. Anyway, I gotta head out now.
Yeah, and I was gonna round it up because we just hit an hour,
Yeah.
but yeah, everybody check out Matt's channel, Unbearable 73, and it's obviously down in the description as you can get it as normal. Sage will hopefully be here next week. At least that's the hope. You know, I don't control anybody here. I just say, hey, you want to join? And they say yes or no. Join the Discord if you'd like to hang out a little bit more, or follow on X if you'd like to stay in contact there, or follow my terrible views, because I say a lot of things people don't like. Because I don't just maintain the status quo because I just don't agree with people just because we need to agree. I have my own opinions. But yes, that's something that would be great. And also, you know, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun jazz. We already went over that. Who cares? But yeah, streams on Tuesday nights. That's where it's fun. Come hang out. We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
Live.
But yeah, the thing sucks.
Live.
But no, that's all I think we're gonna have. So thanks everybody for hanging out, and remember, my friends, walk in the light.